our next change was to understand that we need to go to larger complexes where we can have people on the sites, which then is not leading you to a situation where there's a building that you don't see for 4 days and no one from the organization sees for 4 days, and then you have CT violations, or you have some citation, or you have some other issues that you're not even aware of.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?
Hi everyone, I'm Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast. Today I'm here with Stas Grinberg. Stas is the co-founder and managing principal of Vision and Beyond Capital Investments. He leads with intent of achieving success for both the companies, investor partners, and the communities in which Vision and Beyond operate. Stas, I want to stop there because I want to let you tell your story. What I've got here for a bio is very fascinating, but I want to let you tell the story. And I want to start by saying thank you. Thank you for coming on the show today and taking the time out to be a guest.
Hi, Jason. Thank you for having me on, and hi to all the listeners.
Great.
So,
go ahead and tell us your background.
So my background, I'm 35 years old, married with 3 children. I reside in Nashville, Tennessee. I am a former IDF officer. I have started investing in real estate when I was in the Army. As an officer, I didn't have much time to use my salaries, and I've been focusing on trying to find solutions for the money, and started investing in real estate in the States around 2011. And I've been, after it, I got fascinated with this area after I had troubles investing, and I invested in local companies in Israel that did investment abroad, and syndicators that did investments abroad. And I had a lot of troubles with my investments. My initial investments went pretty bad, but that actually got me into this area of business to get piqued my interest, and I started working in this field and trying to improve my knowledge and my skills in this game. But until 2018, I've been learning a lot, but still having new challenges over and over again, because what I eventually figured out is that doing real estate from such big distance with reliance and with extreme reliance on third parties and everything didn't work too well for me. And I knew that it's probably not that there are no opportunities in real estate, it's just that you need to do it with a higher commitment. You need to do it on the ground, you need to do it locally, you need to know the facts and the stories of the investments closer, and to be able to control the variables that are putting together a good real estate investment. And myself and my partner jumped on the plane. We arrived in Cincinnati, Ohio in 2018, started buying smaller type properties, driving a truck with the printer to binders, and looking for off-market deals, looking to buy, renovate, manage, find one contractor, find some help, and try to build up a company from it. And today we're managing 3,000 units across 5 states with a property management company, with a renovations team beginning to enter the new development space, and quite an operation.
Yeah, that's that sounds like a big step up from that start in 2018. Really a fascinating story. And so when you said that you started investing in 2011, I think you said, so I'm assuming you were investing as a passive investor at that point?
Yes.
Yeah. And didn't go well, unfortunately. That's I guess you can take the positive. It was a learning lesson, It's what I think is important for people to recognize there is that you had an investment or two or whatever go bad, and you didn't stop. You didn't just stop investing. You didn't think real estate doesn't work. You figured out a way that to make it work for yourself. So um, tell me a little bit more about kind of that start early on in 2018. You said you were in Cincinnati, is that correct?
Yes, I arrived in Cincinnati. I had one family that at the time believed in us and told us that Cincinnati it's a good upcoming market. We've been looking, we could start anywhere in the States, but we've been looking to start where we're starting in kind of a secondary market where the prices per unit are something we can start with pretty much no budget to work on. We've been looking not to compete with the big sharks and to go to the most competitive market as well. And we've been looking at markets that are the local laws and regulations will allow us not to put at risk when we're going to buy two properties and then we're going to be able to not enforce ownership if we need to, if we have some problem with a tenant. That was too big of a risk for us, and we wanted therefore to focus on a market that answers all that. We had one family that was willing to give us their knowledge and their equity investment, and in return we're going to do all the groundwork, kind of find the deals. If the deal will be good enough for them, they will invest. They will give us the knowledge on how to manage it, how to collect the rents, what are the laws allowing or not allowing to do in a certain situation, and how do we buy the next property, how do we close it, how do we open an LLC, start really from the very bottom. And after around a year where we had quite a lot of, we acquired the first year around 95 units. We felt in various properties, we felt like working with just one equity source would be a bad development for the business for us, because they have an interest to keep us small, and a company cannot rely on one equity source. It's kind of a form of evolved employment rather than running a pure business if you're dependent on someone 100%. And therefore we started going out to market and raising more equity and trying to grow the business in a more aggressive way. And that's what we did.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think, and some people do run their business that way, where they have maybe one or two equity sources. But I agree. What the downside that I've heard to that is, then you're sort of beholden to that one individual or maybe two individuals, and so they become much more of an employer, as you mentioned. And I think it speaks to, I think, the reality in this business, maybe a lot of businesses, is the equity, the cash, the capital, whatever word you want to put on it, really sort of controls things. And we see that on the debt side and also on the investment side. So you said you started with smaller properties, but I mean, you got to 95 in the first year. So kind of what did you start out with right away? And then obviously to get to 3,000, that there's a big jump there. So what was your progression in terms of deal size and criteria that you were looking for?
So we did, the first deal was a 2-unit, then a 3-unit, a single family house, and then a 57-unit. It was kind of quite a jump, which is 57 unit because it was one seller with 3 properties, which was kind of 24, 17, and I don't remember the third one, but that was the concept, to look for those smaller opportunities. And we just found one seller that is interested, and we kind of let the sellers guide us to the projects rather than us telling ourselves, now we're ready for a 12-unit, let's look for a 12-unit. It was kind of the progression went based on opportunity and not based on a vision in a sense of fair deal. Then over time, after around 2 years of doing kind of this progression, we understood that having this kind of a site portfolio of smaller properties, it's an operational headache. And the more properties we add, the more it adds to the headache and to the troubles, and to kind of almost lowers our ability to manage, which then leads you to the conclusion that if you want to scale to a serious size business and you're just going to add every building you're going to add will add a tremendous amount of headache, you're not going to scale. You're just going to eventually lower the quality of management or collapse, or be able to, you will just, every morning you wake up and you just deal with fires instead of dealing with business development and success. And therefore, if that's the situation, you need to change something. So our next change was to understand that we need to go to larger complexes where we can have people on the sites, which then is not leading you to a situation where there is a building that you don't see for 4 days and no one from the organization sees for 4 days, and then you have CT violations, or you have some citation, or you have some other issues that you're not even aware of, and that causes a chain of problems that sometimes is a small problem, but sometimes it could turn to a huge problem, and you're aware you're from the business.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's no, that I can completely understand that, and I think there's a lot of talk in the industry about scale and economies of scale and things like that. But I do think that your point about management and the ability to manage efficiently and avoid headaches and actually grow it as a business is probably the real reason why scale is so important, right? Like, yes, if you have more units, you can buy your renovation materials in bulk, but the reality is that if you're always putting out fires, like you mentioned, sort of day to day, you don't have the capacity to think about that. You don't have the capacity to put those type of other measures in place. And so that's probably the biggest reason why people do scale it in the way that you described that. I think was sort of a perfect angle on it. When you realized that and you decided to make that shift, what did you do? Did you get rid of all the smaller stuff? How did you grow the portfolio from there?
So as I see it, there are many factors if we're in it. So there's many philosophical thoughts that I had about this evolvement stage of the business. That is, in many aspects, the business to transition from a smaller type business where we're dealing with a smaller type properties to the larger type complexes, you need to go through a lot of phases. And in a lot of phases, I see that as the generation of the desert. You have it with investors, you have it with some employees, you have it with some of the properties or some of the ways you used to do business. You need to evolve, and the first ones that were there with you when you were doing the first steps typically are not people that will stay around you, or that you will not be able to act the same way. For example, with employees, at the beginning when we started, we slept on air mattresses in one apartment with the same employees, and then they got a certain level of attention from us that we couldn't, as the business grows, to provide this employee every day 4 days of discussing philosophy together and kind of leadership from kind of that close. And as you kind of separate, it creates the gap in the mind of the employee that feels like he was a part of the construction of the business, and now you don't give him the same level of attention. That means you maybe changed, and some people can comprehend that and are mature enough, and some people are not, and you're going to have to replace them because they will eventually become unhappy with the evolvement of the business because they don't stay in the same feeling of meaning that they had in the first year. And then you have that with some of the investors. At the beginning, your first 30 equity investors, they feel like thanks to them, you build your business, and you will dedicate to them any attention you can to get their resources invested. And it's a big step for you as a company. So of course you're gonna spend time to update them about every little thing. And then eventually you realize that as you scale with a number of investors, you cannot update every investor and every change, every move out, every apartment, every renovation, every paint. And you kind of begin to build systems to allow you to report to them quarterly with some reasonable level of updating. And the investors that will not be able to accept this change in you or the way you run your business will have to fall out. They will not stay investors for the long run. And the same is with the properties. You have to be able to scale, to do much less deals, bigger size of deals, to place more equity per deal, to place more money per deal, to be able to be more efficient on you. It's much easier to manage 3,000 unit portfolio managing 12 large properties rather than 150 small sites that you don't even remember their addresses or where they are or what's going on. So same idea.
Yeah. No, I love that breakdown. And I think probably it's not even necessarily something that you might think about, sort of going into the business at the beginning. That I think a lot of people, we have this grand vision of you start and we're going to start together and everybody's going to grow together and it's going to become this amazing thing. And at some point, some people aren't going to want to continue on that journey, whether that's for good, whether that's for positive reasons or negative reasons. Maybe they've grown and they want to do their own thing. That's great. But maybe they don't like the direction that you're headed, and you're just looking at it to try and make what you feel are the best business decisions. So all of that makes a ton of sense. So at 3,000 units across 5 states, you said, what is your sort of acquisition criteria? What are you looking to get into at this point, or what does your portfolio consist of mainly? Is probably the start of that.
So it consists historically, I think similarly to maybe from what I've read about your portfolio, it consists historically from value add projects, type C, type B, heavy. We weren't scared of heavy value adds. We did some significant value adds. We've been buying properties that maybe owners saw as problems and we saw them as potential. We saw a vision for them to become good assets.
Yep.
And that's what we've been historically doing. In the last 2 years, quite honestly, we almost didn't transact because of the situation in the market. We're being very honest with ourselves. Going into a deal, we're trying to learn from painful lessons in the past and not to go into a deal trying to make ourselves like the deal when the numbers don't work. Yeah. We're being conservative with the numbers, and the current market situation is really hard to transact. There's quite a big disconnect. On the one hand, there's a big crisis, not only interest rate related, but also operational expenses, insurance, property taxes, other problems that the real estate world is facing. On the other hand, we're not hearing a lot of real estate guys speaking about it out loud, or a lot of owners complaining about it out loud. Everyone is kind of pretending that everything is great, and it's a hard situation. And I don't understand how the market didn't tremendously collapse in the last 2 years. It's hard times for owners of properties, and I know it because our property management is very tight, is very solid, is strong, and we're barely making due on some of the deals on the DSCR requirements and other stuff. And to think about people that are managing their property management, third parties, or not as tight, not as solid on the income part, which the income part we're meeting all of our business plans, but the expenses are hard and painful. And that's the real situation in the market. And now when you go to sellers, the prices of properties should have dropped 50% based on that, maybe more. But the sellers are not willing to sell in discount prices, and they're not necessarily can, because if they refinanced in 2021 a type C property on $100,000 a unit basis, they cannot sell it to you on $60,000 a unit because it's not their loss to take, and they're not even capable of selling their projects. So in that sense, we got into kind of a stuck point, and we had to downsize the operation a little bit to be able to survive the bad weather in the market. And now we're looking to we have deals under contract. One that were maybe one of the first deals in the market that I'm not gonna get into details, but maybe one of the first deals in the market where lender is actually willing to take a loss on his part and cut some of his note down and move from ownership of a property he took ownership of to the debt side. And this way we're going to be able to get a type A project for an attractive price that could actually make sense.
Great.
And another route we're headed is a new development in Miami, which one of the strongest only solid markets in this environment, that the growth of rents is actually compensating for all of those expenses increases are in general Florida markets, and Miami specifically is very hot. There are other markets that are doing well relatively to the entire market, but that's one that really caught our attention, and we're focusing on for the last year, digging into to find ways to JV and do new development opportunities, because we do feel like long term the real estate has a good future. And right now, due to this crisis, a lot of the companies, new development companies, slow down their new development based on the fact that the interest rates are hard and it's harder to get financing for new development. And therefore, the shortage on the other side of the crisis is going to be massive. But that's the challenge we need to overcome. If we're going to be able, in an attractive market, to do new development, on the other side of the crisis, we're going to be happy with the result, we believe.
Yeah, and I think that's just, I mean, I think that's where a lot of people make real money, is when it's a challenging market like we have right now, being able to not just survive, but set yourself up for the future to come. And it's true that there's a more supply coming online basically right now than there was for the number of years leading up to it, and so that's hurt some of the rent growth and stuff like that. But the flip side to that, as you pointed out, is that then because interest rates went up, there's not going to be a lot of new supply coming behind it, and so everything that is existing at that point is then going to become in high demand. And so, I mean, it's I guess like any other market cycle, right? Where, comes up, it comes down, it comes up, it comes down, and that's going to continue to happen forever. You just need to be able to adjust your strategy to take advantage of those ups and downs, and sometimes that means sit on the sidelines for 2 years, like you just pointed out, and find a new way to make growth within your company and returns for your investors. So it is very smart. I think new development is something that's always been really appealing to me. I just like the idea of, here's this new product. We got to know exactly what went into it. How did you kind of start to make that transition? And this is as much a question that I'm curious about as I think listeners will get a lot from it. But how did you make that thought to, okay, I'm going to move from value add to new development, and how did you sort of start that process?
Yeah, so I'm happy to explain. First of all, yes, it was looking appealing to me, as you mentioned. I feel the same way. It was always looking appealing to me, but it always seemed like it didn't make enough sense to justify the risk. But then, on the other side of it, the type C product or type B product makes sense when there is a discrepancy in the cap rates you're going in between the type A and the type C. The reality is, in today's market condition, you can buy type A and type C pretty much in the same going in cap rate. when you analyze the numbers for their face value, not the pro formas that are presented to you, going into type C, you're not going to make more money than type A today.
Yeah.
And potentially you're going to lose in both. It depends on what deals you're looking at. But I find out from the deals I've been analyzing is that we're not going to be better in today's market condition going in 8% interest rates. We're not going to be better buying type C. And if they're both in a hard situation to get even to a negative arbitrage, or to get to a positive arbitrage between the interest rate and the in the going in assumptions, then what I'd rather do is type A. If they're both hard to come by, I'll look into the type A. And then we started analyzing a lot of type A deals and looking to buy a lot of type A deals, because we thought if sellers could be in under pressure in type C, they could be under similar pressure in type A, maybe more. We got into those deals, and we still didn't find the prices that we wanted to find, but we found those sellers of type A, a lot of times they're the developers of those deals.
Yep.
And I said, well, listen, this price I cannot pay you no matter what, but how do we still do business together? He said, well, if you take the risk with me in a new development deal, then we might potentially get in on different basis and enjoy the development together. And then we kind of got into that space when it makes sense. And now we created a good JV with a good builders group from Miami. They've been building in Miami since the 70s, and their youngest partner is not even 50, but he's been doing it from 2000. And we've had a really, really good chemistry in creating this JV, and we're looking to do potential development of hopefully 1,000 units a year. It's probably not going to work from year one, but that's the aim. And we're looking to develop together, to use their experience and their skills and our ability to raise the equity and to bring the financing and to run the management and to do that. And they've been kind of developing only internally within the family, and each one of them was kind of putting the money into the deals, and they were not looking to scale their business too much and to enjoy the opportunity of also raising equity into the deals and doing 1,000 units a year, and not waiting until one project sells to invest the money to the next project. So we're kind of found this good relationship that we're looking to build from.
That's phenomenal. I mean, people talk about, this is a relationship business, but that's a perfect example, right? It's not, it wasn't just, oh, this one doesn't work, see you later. You find someone that has complementary strengths to yours. You find someone that you can share vision and grow together. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great approach. So I love that. That's I think probably very encouraging. It's encouraging to myself, encouraging to people out there that are recognizing that this is a challenging market, but that's really where you can find huge success, kind of building for the future. So that's a great piece. Stas, I'm going to switch gears here so I can ask you the questions I ask every guest. And the first one is related to the name of the show being Know Your Why. So what is your why? What's driving you? You've had a ton of success already. I love, kind of the innovation in your thinking and the evolution of where you're going with your business. So what's behind that? What's really driving you?
So one of the missions I see is, and maybe the strongest why I created for myself. That pushes me, but I also kind of evolve my why and I work on it, which is I created a foundation called 2141. It's the Company Commanders Club of the IDF. I'm a retired company commander from the IDF. My partner is the same, and we have been feeling the struggle of guys who retire at the age of 26, 27 from the army. They didn't have any formal education. They don't have any formal professional experience. They're kind of behind their peers that are already working in high-tech companies or in some other companies. They have some proven leadership skills, and they've been having to make some hard decisions under fire and really to work on themselves and work hard, and they have a lot of skills that we believe that are very applicable in the business world and in general in life. But those guys are kind of falling between the cracks, retiring from the army, and they're staying behind, and then they need to pave their way solely in a hard way. And that's how we did it. But we believe that it's a wasted resource for the country of Israel, but it's also very unfortunate for them, and it's also unfair because they did it mostly volunteering. Yes, there was some salary involved, but it's a volunteering path of service. And therefore, we have created this foundation. Today, we are hosting in this foundation 1,700 retired company commanders. We help them get their way started much better in the citizenship, from writing a CV and reaching out to employers to actually connecting them with the business companies and helping them grow. And we're also telling those companies and marketing to those companies that those guys are true leadership material, and leadership has a lot of value. The fact that they're a little behind, or they don't have the formal education yet, or they don't have some other professional experience on paper, the reality is they have a lot of value to add to businesses. And so we're helping them, and that's kind of our life project. And it's been going tremendously well because the pain was bigger than we thought, and therefore it scaled in 2.5 years to become the formal organization recognized by the IDF for those retired company commanders. And 1,700 guys. We did not expect this amount and this fast, and that is a big why. And partially, we're growing our business to be able to support this venture, to be able to kind of have it all in work in harmony and help those guys evolve. And eventually, we employ them. And the only negative is that when the war in Gaza started, we had 8 of our managers in the company leave all at the same time to go to the service, and we fought in Gaza for over 4 months, and some guys are still deployed. So that all of a sudden we had a lot of guys in the organization leave. But besides that, it's only positive, and it creates a good DNA for an organization, and we see a lot of light from it. And besides that, I believe in capitalism and in the virtues of capitalism. I believe that building your business as a strong business by providing solutions to people and leading it with integrity, I believe that it's good for the world, it's good for everyone, and it's good for your employees, for you providing them job, it's good for tenants, it's good for those buildings that we're taking off when they're in unlivable conditions or in very bad conditions, and we're providing solutions by doing the heavy lifting and making them good, positive properties. And we're paying a lot of people by doing that, and doing a lot of good by doing that. And people need to be more proud for running businesses. It's hard, and it's worth recognition.
Yeah, that's outstanding. That's very, very impressive, and I don't know. It's almost like overwhelming how powerful that sounds, and sort of inspiring to me. We try to really think from a place of impact within our company as well. And so I love that the amount of success that you've had, and the amount of just people that you're helping, even in that what really is the beginning, right? Like if it's been 2 years, there's a long way to go. So congratulations on that. That's really, really very amazing.
Thank you.
With that, when people hear this and they want to reach out to you, what's the best way to connect with you or with your foundation, or anything you want to plug? And we'll put all this in the show notes as well.
Yeah, so my personal name, Stas Grinberg on LinkedIn, would be a very easy way to reach out to me, or the company's website at vnbinvest.com.
Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely have that stuff in the show notes so people can connect. My last question for you, Stas, is what piece of advice would you give to someone who is they hear this, they're inspired, they want to get started in real estate? What would you tell them as kind of some advice to get them off the ground?
So, for someone who actually wants to start their business and to dedicate their life to real estate, I would say to jump right on it and to not be scared of the painful lessons, and that the only way to learn, unless you are a second generation to wealth, the only way to learn is pain, and
Yeah.
and don't be hesitant of making mistakes. Take risks, make mistakes, take the first renovation, take the first property, try to do it, get yourself in troubles, replace 4 contractors if you need to, and find a way, because I don't know of another way besides reading books and learning and doing your best. You can learn, and all of the purpose of learning is minimizing the pain, but the pain will still be there, and without the pain you will not seal the lessons. I don't know of one person who was able to avoid all pains building a business, uh, just making mistakes and trying to learn from them, but trying to really deeply learn from them, not just learn from the on the basic level, learn to depth, try to apply all the surrounding lessons. That would be to start it for someone who wants to start it as a business.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that the best lessons, the best sort of ability to grow is going to come from the pain and the mistakes and things that so often people avoid, but really that is what's going to put you up to that next level. That's really, you're going to achieve big things. And I think that's a thing that, you started off sort of talking about things that don't get talked about, right? Like in regards to the current state of the market. And I think there was a great market for 10 years, right? And so people did well, made a lot of money, and nobody really talked about pain. And now it seems like more and more people are willing to at least acknowledge it. People see, big people on social media, big names on social media that are, oh yeah, I lost, X millions of dollars, or I had, this many businesses fail before I hit it big. And I think that stuff, the reason why then when things like that happen, you're able to have big successes because you didn't stop, you didn't quit, you didn't give up. You took all of that pain, sort of bottled it up, learned the lessons, and used it to fuel you to bigger and better. So I think I couldn't agree more with that sentiment. And I want to say thank you. Thanks for coming on the show today. I really enjoyed this conversation. I think people are going to get a ton of value out of it. So thanks for taking the time out today.
Likewise. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Folks, I know you're going to love this episode. Definitely connect with Stas. We'll have all of his information in the show notes. Please like, rate, and review the show so we can continue to get more great guests. And thank you all for listening.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?